The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Velkoth projected the evacuation projections onto the holographic display. The dying star of Kepler 442 pulsed ominously in the center, its unstable core counting down to supernova. Surrounding it, the doomed colony world of Refuge Prime glowed like a fragile ember. 3 million souls, Velkoth announced, his translator rendering his chittering speech into cold, clinical tones. The mathematics are irrefutable. Given the 11-day window and available fleet capacity across all Council species, we can extract approximately 2.1 million colonists. The remaining 900,000... He paused, mandibles clicking in what his species considered sympathy. Acceptable losses. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled delegates. The Korathi nodded their crystalline heads. The Venturi representatives' tentacles swayed in concurrence. It was, after all, a reasonable conclusion. Resources were finite. Logic was paramount. At the back of the chamber, Captain Ava Torres stood with her arms crossed, her jaw clenched so tightly she could feel her teeth grinding. Beside her, Commander Aiden Cross placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Don't," he whispered. "Not yet." But Ava was already moving forward, her boots echoing against the polished floor as she strode toward the speaker's platform. The delegates turned, some with curiosity, others with barely concealed disdain. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Council, barely 2 generations into their membership. What could they possibly contribute that the ancient civilizations hadn't already considered? "Captain Torres," Velkoth acknowledged with a dismissive wave, "the human contingent has no evacuation vessels available. Your contribution to this discussion is unnecessary." Ava reached the platform and turned to face the assembly. "You're right. We don't have evacuation vessels." She paused, letting the words hang in the air. "We have something better. We have audacity." A ripple of confused sounds echoed through the chamber, the galactic equivalent of skeptical laughter. "Explain yourself, human," the Venturi delegate commanded, its voice bubbling through its translation membrane. Aiden had joined her now, activating his own datapad. 11 days, 3 million people. You've calculated based on conventional evacuation protocols, orderly boarding, systematic processing, priority hierarchies. His fingers danced across the screen, sending new projections to the main display. "We calculated based on chaos theory and desperation mathematics." The holographic display shifted, showing a fleet configuration that made several delegates recoil in alarm. "That's..." Velkoth's mandibles clacked rapidly. "That's the entire human commercial shipping fleet, cargo haulers, mining vessels, even atmospheric processors. None of those are rated for passenger transport." "Not rated doesn't mean not capable," Ava replied. Her eyes blazed with intensity. "Every human ship within 4 jumps of Kepler 442 is being retrofitted right now. We're ripping out cargo bays and replacing them with emergency life support. We're welding seats to bulkheads. We're converting fuel tanks to habitation spaces." "The safety violations alone," began the Korathi representative. "Would you rather be safe and dead, or uncomfortable and alive?" Aiden cut him off. "Because those are the only 2 options for those 900,000 people you've written off." Ava pulled up another schematic. "The UES Prometheus, a bulk freighter that normally hauls asteroid ore. Capacity, 50 crew. New capacity with modifications. 15,000 passengers, packed in like sardines for a 3-day journey. Will it be comfortable? Hell no. Will everyone survive the cramped conditions? Probably not, but it beats 0% survival rate." "This is madness," Velkoth protested. "The regulations..." "Screw your regulations!" Ava's voice cracked like a whip across the chamber. "You want to talk about acceptable losses. Let me tell you about human history. We've had pandemics that killed millions, wars that devastated continents. Disasters that should have ended us. And you know what we learned? That every single life is worth fighting for, even when the math says it's impossible. She advanced toward Velkoth, and despite his superior size, he stepped back. You look at 900,000 people and see a statistical inevitability. We look at 900,000 people and see 900,000 reasons to break every rule in your handbook. Aiden brought up a final image. Dozens of human ships, ugly, retrofitted, held together by prayer and welding, forming a ragtag fleet around Refuge Prime. Our captains are already en route. We've got mining crews who haven't seen their families in months turning their ships around. We've got colonists from New Terra stripping their own habitation modules to send as prefab shelters. We've even got a cruise liner, the Star of Mahorca, that was supposed to depart on a luxury tour. The passengers voted unanimously to delay their vacation and help. But the cost, the Venturi delegate protested weakly, the economic impact to your species is irrelevant, Ava said simply. You can't put a price on 3 million lives. Well, apparently you can, but we choose not to. The chamber fell silent. Captain Torres looked around at the assembled delegates, these ancient species with their careful calculations and acceptable losses. Here's what's going to happen. Your fleets will extract their allocated 2.1 million using your safe, regulated, comfortable vessels. Meanwhile, we're going to pack the remaining 900,000 into ships that have no business carrying passengers. It's going to be dangerous. It's going to be chaotic. Some ships might not make it, but we're going to try. She turned to leave, Aiden falling into step beside her. As they reached the exit, Velkoth's voice called out, Captain Torres, why? Why sacrifice so much for strangers? Most of those colonists aren't even human. Ava paused at the threshold, looking back over her shoulder. That's exactly why you don't understand. You see species, categories, acceptable percentages. We just see people who need help. Her voice softened. Maybe that's humanity's real contribution to this council, reminding you that sometimes the most logical thing to do is something completely illogical. 11 days later, the supernova consumed Kepler 442 in a cascade of stellar fury. By then, Refugee Prime was empty. All 3 million colonists had been evacuated. The human fleet limped back to their ports with overloaded ships, failing systems, and exhausted crews. They had lost 3 vessels to mechanical failures. 47 people had died from the cramped conditions and medical complications. The economic cost to the human sphere was staggering, and they called it a victory, because to humanity, acceptable losses was never an acceptable answer.